back to Fire Part 2. This video is picking up from where we left off, and we'll be delving into the chakras now.
Yes. Chakras are definitely. This is going to be fun.
Yes.
I mean, this is a fun one.
Right.
A lot of information. Now, a lot of this information has been made simplified by the Oregon State University Anatomy and Physiology Department. Because we're going to get into the three main functions of well-being for the chakras. So we're going to get into plexuses, we're going to get into endocrine glands, we're going to get into the function of the heart. Okay. So it's more medical. This is the most simplistic breakdown that I've been able to find that's easy to follow.
Right, yeah.
Where you don't have to have a medical degree in order to
Understand what's going on.
understand everything that's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
So, the three main functions of well-being. Okay, that's a physical expression of how these work. Okay, the first one is the nerve plexus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the nerve plexuses originate from the same anatomical area and serve specific areas of the body. All right. They also send messages from the brain to the muscles, allowing for movement to occur. There are two major groups of nerve plexuses: the spinal plexus and the autonomic plexus. Now, 5 plexuses originate from the spinal cord in your body. These include the cervical, brachial, lumbar, sacral, and coccygeal plexuses. Okay. We're going to talk about the spinal plexuses first, and the 5 that are included. The first one is the cervical plexus, and it supplies nerves for the back of your head and the upper cervical muscles. So, here.
Right, yep.
And here. There are nerve clusters that are associated with the plexus itself that run through. And these are all conscious. Okay? So what does that mean for us? That means the midheaven. They're all coming from the midheaven because that's where consciousness comes from. So that's what these are controlled by, essentially. They're going to be controlled by the midheaven in your chart. Okay. Now, the brachial plexus, the second one, serves your chest, shoulder, and arms. Okay. The medium ulnar and the radial nerves, the 3 major nerves of your arm, originate from the brachial plexus. So essentially, they go here, and they control all your movement.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
and this is movement again that you're consciously aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When we get into the next phase of it, that's when we get into unconscious movement. Okay. So, your heart beating, things you don't need to think about, but your nerves are allowing these things to happen.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So, the next one, the lumbar plexus. Now, these serve the muscles and skin in your hip and thigh. Okay? And of course, we know the lumbar region of your lower back.
Right, yep.
Okay, the lumbar
That's
plexus.
where everyone seems to have back pain. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's where a lot of people have back pain. It seems to be where it all gets kind of centered down there and moves out. And you'll understand that in a minute. 2 major nerves originate via the lumbar plexus: the femoral nerve and the obturator nerve. Okay, these allow for motor information to your hip and thigh muscles and communicate sensory information from your thighs and hips to your brain. Okay. So that you can kick and you can run and you can walk and move. Okay. So that you can express yourself physically in any way that you want. Okay. Branches of the lumbar plexus also serve areas of your pelvic girdle and your genital area. Okay. So hip flexors and all those. Okay. Now we're getting into the sacral plexus. Okay. The sacral plexus and your sciatic nerve comes from the sacral plexus and serves the muscles of the skin of the back of your thighs, lower legs, and feet. Okay. So, any way that you can move.
Yeah.
From here down, essentially. Okay. Other nerves that originate from the sacral plexus run to your gluteal and piriformis muscles of your hips.
So it's the hip flexors.
Yep, your hip flexors in your butt, in your butt muscles. Okay, the glutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, talk about the core. Okay. And this plexus serves a small area, or we're going to go into the coccygeal plexus, and this plexus serves a small area near your tailbone. Okay. Now, it's a plexus of nerves, can be thought of as an electrical junction box. Okay. Various nerves come together, they're sorted, and then travel on to their respective muscles or anatomical structures to communicate signals to and from your brain. Okay. So, what does that mean? Well, again, that means that, because when we talked about the aura, we talked about Saturn, and Saturn being a hub.
Right.
Okay. For the chakra centers, and what what energy is coming in. The way that it runs through your body, however, is that you've got your main hub, but then you've got these hubs of nerves. So as the energy is traveling from Saturn to Mercury, so that Mercury can disseminate through your throat, from your throat all the way through the rest of yours, all that energy is going to flow right up through those plexuses to the brain, okay? And then, again, Mercury is going to disseminate it from the brain back down to the plexuses and throughout the chakras to tell your body how to react to all of that energy that's flowing through. So it's interesting how that works.
Yeah, very interesting. It's the same location as your root, so yeah, very interesting.
Well, that one is. There's one that's there, and that would be the last one that we talked about, the coccygeal. The other ones move up.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And it's interesting because that's how your nerves connect to the chakra energy. Saturn gets it, pushes it through all of those plexuses, your nerve plexuses, throughout your entire body, goes to Mercury in the throat chakra, allows Mercury to disseminate the energy, and then flows it right back down the same channels.
Well, it's also interesting because we talk about the chakras as having color, the energy of the chakras being color specific.
Right.
Which are electromagnetic waves, and your nerves communicate through electrical signals.
Yes. The neurons firing and everything's going on, and that's essentially what happens. And again, when you talk about that, you can talk about electrolytes.
Yes, yep.
Because that's what electrolytes do.
Right.
Okay. They allow your nerves to communicate anything through your body. I found that out the hard way.
Yep.
I was laid up for a little while. Had a surgery that didn't come back from very well. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And at one point I decided, well, I'm going to fix myself, so I'm going to do this intense workout program.
Yeah,
and I did. And ended up in ER, and had the ER doctor look at me, and she goes, "Do you have any pets?" And I said, "I have a cat." She looked at me and she goes, "Your cat has more electrolytes in its body than you do right now." And I was like, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, did you forget something?" She goes, "You didn't forget the protein drink, but you forgot the recovery drink to replete the electrolytes." So my hands and feet had gone almost numb. And I was shaking and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And that was the problem.
Okay.
My nerves could not communicate to the rest of my body because there were no electrolytes for it to travel through. So big one, electrolytes. You need your electrolytes. And if you're doing a workout and you're sweating, the biggest electrolyte that you need to replenish is salt.
Absolutely.
So make sure that whatever drink you're getting that's out there doesn't just taste good, but that it has salt in it to replenish that particular electrolyte. Because the other electrolytes will not replenish the salt that you have sweated out of your body.
Right, yes.
So it is needed. Okay, let's get off that. We'll get back to what we were doing. Okay. This has a protective effect in that if one nerve is injured, other nerves in the same plexus may be able to essentially step up and prevent a more severe injury. Okay. So all of these plexuses can work that way. And again, the one that we seem to hit the most, I don't know if it's women too, but guys, That lumbar.
Yeah, lumbar.
Woo!
Man.
That's the one. That was the surgery I had to have.
Yeah.
It was in the lumbar.
Oh yeah, that's right.
L4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a herniated disc, right? Yeah.
No, I had a crushed disc.
Crushed disc. Okay.
Yeah, it went way past herniated.
Oof.
Yeah, it was too bad. They had to go in and do a partial shave, but everything's good now. Back can move,
Right.
back working out, doing things that I need to do. It didn't stop me at all, and I didn't have to have a fusion either.
Okay.
They had just gotten rid of, before that type of surgery that I had, they would have done a bone fusion, which would have caused me mobility issues big time. But they figured that that was the only thing it did. It didn't actually help anything, so they stopped doing it. You know,
Okay.
That saved me. So I'm back to, well, I would say 100% at this point. Okay. But your body consists of a complex series of muscles, bones, tendons, and nerves. When nerves exit your spinal canal, they are sorted and organized into a plexus. Okay. This plexus serves to keep nerve signals organized and to create a system where your nerves are protected from injury. Okay. It's very important.
Right.
Okay. For what your nerve plexuses do. Okay. Now we're going to get into the unconscious plexuses.
Yes.
The word I hate, the autonomic plexus is what it's called. I don't know why I hate that word, but for some reason it's one of those things where I can't ever pronounce it correctly.
Hard to pronounce. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Now the 5 autonomic plexuses include the celiac, Auerbach's, pharyngeal, cardiac, and Meissner's plexuses. Now, the celiac plexus, also known as the solar plexus, sits behind your stomach. Okay? And that's what it does.
Okay, so it's going to be like the diaphragm area?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to sit behind that. It's not going to be where we essentially think our solar plexus is. It's lower.
Right.
Okay? Kind of sits behind the stomach. And that's where essentially that's where it's located. Okay? Auerbach's plexus, okay, serves your gut. Okay, it functions as part of your digestive system.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. The pharyngeal plexus originates from the cranial nerves 9 through 11 and serves muscles and skin of the front of your neck. This plexus of nerves aids in the swallowing mechanisms. Okay? Again, things you don't think about.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Swallow all the time.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
You have to.
Thinking about that, I just swallowed myself. I just did swallow.
Oh, I was gonna say you have to. It's already had spit dripping out your mouth all the time.
Yes, that's true. Yes. And then we have the cardiac plexus. The cardiac plexus provides nerves to your heart muscle. Okay. Now, the heart muscle itself, we're going to get into. Okay.
Yes, it's a very interesting.
When we get into the endocrine glands, we associate it with the endocrine glands, even though it's a muscle, and we do that because of how it works with hormones.
Right.
In the same way that endocrine glands does, but even larger.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's almost like it has its own, well, as you put it before, little brain.
That's how. Yeah. That's how some people
really interesting.
associate that with. Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely.
With the 40,000 plus neurons that it has.
Yes. I mean, it's insane what that all has. And it's also how Venus connects to the heart, which we'll get into because it's not the heart chakra. It's the actual heart that Venus connects to. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then we have Meissner's plexus. Okay, this plexus of nerves serves your intestinal wall and works with Auerbach's plexus to aid with digestion. Okay, the biggest thing about intestinal wall. Okay, and I'm going to bring you up because when we first started working together.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, when we first started working together, it was because I wanted to go through an intense workout program, and I asked you if you would like to go with me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's better to have another person there.
Right.
Because you don't stop that way halfway through, or because you get sore. Okay. And I had already been through this particular one, you hadn't, and it makes for me then I can't not do it because I've got somebody I'm kind of training through it.
Right.
Which worked out really well. However, what we found out though was when we got into the diet portions, we were eating a lot of protein and a lot of fruit. And there's one particular fruit, okay, that has a type of fructose in it. It's watermelon. And it does not penetrate through the intestinal wall well at all.
Right.
So, again, you were having some issues with that, and then we figured out it was the watermelon. Okay? But now we know that it was the Meissner's plexus that had the issue with it.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to switch to, I think it was pear or something like that, because
Yeah,
pear doesn't have the same problem with it.
Right.
And some of the other melons, they don't have this big a problem as the watermelon does for some weird reason.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you can still run into the same issue with
Yeah.
the other melons if you eat enough of it.
Yes, yes, if you eat enough of
I,
it. Yes.
I found that out too.
Yes. All right, so that was the nerve plexuses. Okay, we went through all of them. You don't need a whole lot of information on what they are, but you kind of need to know how they work and
Right.
which ones do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now we're going to get into the endocrine glands. Okay, and remember, all of these are, we're still talking about chakras. Okay? All of these work with chakras. All of these are controlled by chakras. All of these get their energy from the chakras.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And this is how the chakras essentially, I guess a good word would be to disseminates the energy through your physical body.
Yeah, into the physical body, yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, the endocrine glands that we're talking about: hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the thyroid, the parathyroid, the adrenals, the pancreas, the thymus, okay? Testes and the ovaries. Now, the testes and the ovaries are not on their own.
Right.
They're part of the same endocrine gland, it's just one's male, one's female.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we're talking about, like when we did the hermetics, now we're talking about physical gender. Okay, not the mental gender, but the physical gender, the physical differences
Right, right.
between male and females. Okay, so now the hormones produced by these glands travel to the various organs, glands and tissues in the body and communicate with them. Okay, once they have reached their particular organ or tissue, they bind to specific proteins on the surface of the cell. These proteins are called receptors. When they have bound to the receptor, this causes a response in that particular organ or tissue. Okay? So essentially, they tell it what to do. Okay? The first one we're going to talk about is the hypothalamus. Okay? The hypothalamus is part of the brain. It receives messages from all over the body and keeps the body balanced by sending out messages to the nervous system via the brain. It also sends out hormone messages to the pituitary gland and helps to regulate the control of thirst and hunger. And this is associated with the heart chakra, okay? Even though it's working through the brain. That's the interesting thing about chakras.
Right.
Sometimes they relate to where they're laying, and sometimes they have nothing to do with it,
Mm-hmm.
and they work in a completely different part of your body. Okay? Okay, and that's the hypothalamus. Now the pituitary gland. Okay, the pituitary gland is under the control of the hypothalamus and is connected to the hypothalamus by a stalk. It has two lobes, the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. Okay? The anterior lobe of the pituitary gland produces the following hormones. Okay? Follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, and luteinizing hormone, LH, which control the production of sex hormones, estrogen and testosterone. They also control the growth and release of the egg and the ovaries, and in men they control the production of sperm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So these are sexual, okay, hormones. Okay, and then we have growth hormones, which again controls growth in the body. Okay? Thyroid stimulating hormones, TSH, which tells the thyroid gland to produce and release thyroid hormones. Okay? Adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH. I'm going to call it from that from now on. Which tells the adrenals to release the hormone cortisol into the body. Okay?
The stress hormone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that one because of psoriasis.
Okay. Yeah.
Cortisol is what they give you to help with it. Okay. And they usually use a steroid with it if you have a bad enough
Mm-hmm.
issue. And with psoriasis you do. With eczema, not so much. But psoriasis is like, my dermatologist called it the evil step sister to eczema.
Okay. Okay.
It's like, okay. Okay. Now, melanocytes melanocyte stimulating hormone, MSH, which controls the production of melanin. Melanin is a substance that gives skin its color. Okay.
We all have a different shade of melanin.
Yes. Yes. And it's not just a shade, because when you go out into the sun, the shade changes.
Right.
You know. So melanin essentially is there to stop you from burning.
Right.
So that every time you go out into the sun, you don't burn. Okay. Prolactin, PRL, which stimulates the production of breast milk and is necessary for normal milk production during breastfeeding. Okay. The posterior lobe of the pituitary gland produces the following hormones. Okay. Antidiuretic hormone, ADH, which controls water excretion by the kidneys.
Kind of important.
Yes. Very important, especially with people going through dialysis. If you have clients that are doing that, if you're going through that, if you're a heavy drinker, this is healing on, these are going to.
Well, that's even, someone that's carrying a little bit of extra weight that's having a problem with water retention.
Yes. That can even be an issue, yes.
Yeah.
In the legs and everywhere else.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be excreted out. Okay. Next one, Oxycontin, which causes the womb to contract during labor and plays a role in the production of breast milk. Okay, and I think most people know what Oxycontin is.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
Okay. And that is associated with the crown chakra.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
But it makes sense because it controls everything.
Right. Pause it. Okay.
Okay.
So, to be clear, the pituitary gland is associated with the crown chakra,
Right. Yep.
not just Oxycontin. We had that long list, and that's why it kind of came out that way, but we're good. All right, next one we're going to talk about is the pineal gland. Okay, this pea-sized pineal gland is near the center of the brain. The pineal gland produces a hormone called melatonin. Melatonin is the hormone which is responsible for closing the body down, ready for sleep. It is produced when it is dark, so more is produced at night and in the winter. When nights are longer, the body makes more melatonin. Okay. It's also why it can be really hard for people to work third shift.
Right. Yeah.
Because this is being processed. As they're working, you can start to get really sleepy during third shift and not understand why, and end up having to drink more caffeine, more of this, more of that, to keep yourself going, to keep moving. Okay. It's not that you can't get through that, but I was also thinking it's got to be really difficult for people who live in like Alaska. Half the year it's light,
and half the year it's dark. Oh yeah.
It's got to be really strange for those people.
That part of Alaska above the Arctic Circle is the only part of the U.S. that has a higher rate of depression in the winter than Michigan does.
Oh, that's probably. Yeah, I don't know if it's just Michigan or because we're pretty high up. UP anyway.
We are certainly extremely high up, and that's because of our winters. We get a lot of cloud cover. I think we get maybe 5% sunlight in the winter.
Oh, yeah, that's possible. Yeah, and I guess in the northern states too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a big issue. Okay. However, for people that are having sleep issues, okay, and this is associated with the brow chakra, that's what you're going to be working.
Right.
To try to produce that melatonin to get people to sleep naturally so they can get them off medications and things. And they don't sit up all night.
Right. Sleeping. Well, it's interesting that the brow chakra and the pineal gland, the brow is called the third eye.
Right.
And the structure around the pineal gland is shaped like the eye of Horus.
Yeah. Yes, I've seen that in diagrams. Yes. That is true. Yes. Okay, now the pineal gland also affects reproductive development, thyroid, and adrenal cortex functions. Okay. And again, it's associated with the brow chakra. Okay, we're going to go to the thyroid. The thyroid is a small, butterfly-shaped gland with two lobes, situated in the front of your neck just below the Adam's apple. The thyroid gland produces two main hormones, which are very important for growth and development. Okay. One is called T4, the other is called T3. T4 is converted to T3 in the body's cells and tissues. T3 is an active hormone and is needed by all of the cells and tissues of the body, okay, for growth.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
The thyroid gland also produces another hormone called calcitonin, which works alongside the parathyroid hormone in the maintenance of calcium levels in the blood. Okay, and this is associated with the throat chakra. Okay,
Again, that makes sense.
yeah, Mercury, air,
Mercury, yeah, but
Gemini, air.
disseminating
And disseminating, and
everywhere. Yeah.
the blood. You know, the blood is the air humor of the body. The four liquids that run through the body. When we go back to Hippocrates.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Fascinating.
Yes. And again, calcium levels. So, okay. Now, the parathyroid gland. These are pea-sized glands that are attached to the thyroid gland and produce parathyroid hormone, which controls blood calcium levels. Okay. This is associated with the foot chakra. Okay. So, again, we have calcium, and we have blood. And the foot chakra, okay, well, the foot chakra is associated with Uranus, Aquarius. Again, air. We've got air again. So we've got that correlation.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's kind of interesting that the foot chakra and the throat chakra, we now find work hand in hand on quite a few things together. So our path and how we communicate, which is interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that hub that is situated below Saturn's hub. Okay, as far as the chakras are concerned. Interesting how that works. Now, and angel-wise, Michael Gabriel.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, two of the Seraphim princes.
Not just the two of the Seraphim princes, but two of the only two that are mentioned by name in the Bible.
Yes, they are. They are. Which is kind of weird when you think about it. Because there's so many angels, only two of them are mentioned.
It is fascinating to think about, but only two technically are mentioned by name. There are several others, but kind of off the wall names, like Angel of the Lord or...
Yes, and essentially those are just titles.
Right, yeah.
That are given, and when you start studying angels, you get into the fact that that title is used by different angels at times.
Right.
Or so they believe. So.
Well, and some of that I've heard is some of them have been given that designation when they're sent. Essentially
to do something.
Essentially, the stamp God put the stamp of His name in them, and that's why they're known as the angels of the Lord at that time to accomplish something.
Yes. For the Lord, essentially.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Now the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are situated at the top of the kidneys. Each adrenal gland is divided into two areas, the cortex and the medulla. Each area produces different hormones. The cortex produces corticosteroid hormones.
Okay.
So cortisol, also known as hydrocortisone, is the main stress buster of the body and controls the body's use of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. Okay. So people are de-stressing and they start eating chips and stuff that's nearly not good for you.
Hey, now.
That's why. Okay. Corticosteroid helps to control the immune system, inflammatory response. Okay, so inflammation. It also produces mineralocorticoids, such as aldosterone, which helps to maintain sodium balance in the body and the maintenance of blood volume and blood pressure. Okay. The cortex also produces gonadotropins, or sex hormones such as testosterone, estrogen, DHEA, and progesterone in small amounts. Okay. So there's another interplay with energy. Okay. The medulla produces adrenaline and noradrenaline in response to acute stress, such as fright and anger. These cause the heart to pump harder and the heart rate to increase. They also open airways into the lungs, increase blood flow to major muscle groups that enable the body to fight or run in stressful situations. Okay. And that is associated with the root chakra.
The root.
The
yes.
hub.
Your foundation.
And the hub.
What makes you feel safe, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Yes. Associated with earth energy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Saturn,
Mhm.
the ruler of Capricorn.
Yes. And the co-ruler of Aquarius.
Yeah.
Yes. So pancreas. We're at the pancreas now. The pancreas produces digestive enzymes and certain special cells which control blood sugar, producing the hormones insulin and glucagon. This is associated with the solar plexus chakra. Okay.
Interesting.
Yep. The
Okay.
sun.
Yeah. Your essence.
Okay. Now the thymus. The thymus makes white blood cells called T lymphocytes. These white blood cells are part of the body's immune system and help to fight infection. They're associated with Doth. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mars. So yes, white blood cells and fighting infection. That sounds like a Mars thing to me.
Yeah, yeah.
They're the ones that are going to war. Kill the infection, get it out of here, let's go. Let's move on. Okay.
That definitely
Now-
sounds like Mars.
Now we hit the sacral chakra. Okay, and I'm bringing that up first because it's associated with two parts, two things here. The testes in males and the ovaries in females. Okay. The testes are two egg-shaped male reproductive organs. They produce the hormone testosterone, which is responsible for male characteristics of the body. Testosterone is needed for the production of sperm. Men also produce a small amount of progesterone and estrogen. Okay. The ovaries are two oval-shaped female reproductive organs. They produce the female sex hormone estrogen and progesterone, which are responsible for the female characteristics of the body. Estrogen strengthens bones and has a protective effect on the heart, and progesterone. Okay. Interesting that it strengthens the bones. Okay.
Very interesting.
Okay. Progesterone causes the womb's linings to thicken ready for pregnancy. And the ovaries also produce small amounts of testosterone. Okay. And it's again associated with the sacral chakra. Both of those are associated with the sacral chakra.
It's absolutely fascinating that there's a balance in each one.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's a balance in each one. There's not.
Well, I think that the issue is that we both male and females need both.
Yeah.
Males just need more of one, and females need more of the other.
Right.
And that's what causes a lot of the physical differences that we see.
Mm.
You know, again, men's muscle mass and men's bone structure. Okay, because they're bigger, they're thicker,
Right.
they're larger.
Well, I just find it.
One thing that's interesting is that females release their testosterone before the males do.
Right.
And that's why when they're younger, boys and girls can compete against each other physically.
Mm.
And maybe right before middle school and beginning of middle school, girls can get bigger than the boys.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden, 13, 14 comes along, and then all of a sudden the males just release theirs, and that's when they get
Puberty hits. Yeah.
puberty hits, and they just go insane.
Right.
You know,
Right.
with their growth. And sometimes I know some guys in school where it hurt them.
Mm.
They grew so quickly that their bones hurt.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was certainly me growing up.
Was
That's-
that you?
I mean, even
You had issues with that?
you can look now. I still have scars, stretch marks on my shoulders
Oh, really?
from
Okay.
from growing. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
And in my hips. Yeah.
That's incredible. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, now we come to Venus, the heart. Okay. Now the heart is not an endocrine gland. It's not. It's a muscle.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
The heart derives signals that can take many forms and can be neuronal or endocrine in nature. Neuronal signals tend to be fast acting, whereas endocrine signals can stimulate long-term changes. Okay? The heart can signal its functional status to the brain through sensory nerves. The brain then integrates and relays this information to the rest of the body through efferent nerves or endocrine signals. Okay. And that's causes changes in the growth hormone levels. Okay. But your heart's doing it. Okay. So it's kind of acting like an endocrine gland.
Yeah. That's.
I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
It's insane. And that's where Venus is associated with the heart. Because I've gotten a lot of people that have gotten upset with me because the system I use, the heart chakra, is not
Right.
Venus. It's Pluto. And Pluto's transformation.
Right.
You transform through the heart, but it's also more in line with Scorpio energy, okay, which is the most potent of the emotional energy in the body. So it makes sense that would be associated with the heart, as opposed to Taurus, which is Earth. Okay. However, that makes sense though. Taurus energy with the heart itself, because it's a substance, it's a structure in your body, and that's what Earth is, and that's what Taurus is. Makes perfect sense. Okay. All right. Now, alternately, the heart can secrete signals into the circulation that travel to distant sites of the body to directly affect their biology, thus functioning as heart-derived hormones. Such heart-derived hormones can be proteins, lipids, metabolites, or other forms of molecules. Most cell types routinely secrete many factors into the extracellular space, but most of them are often trapped there without going into the systemic circulation, or they go into circulation as mere biomarkers without specific biological functions through activating distinct receptors on specific target organs, which just essentially means they don't do much.
Right.
When they do it, and they have little effect. Where the heart, when it does it, has major effects, whether they're fast or long-lasting.
Right.
Okay. It might take a while to get there, but when it does, okay, it's again that Earth. Okay.
Right.
For Venus. That's the long-lasting ones.
Slow,
steady, but steady and strong.
And strong.
And when it gets there, it gets there.
And it's not going to move.
Okay. Right.
Once it's there, it's not
right.
going. That's Taurus.
And then we've got Libra
yeah.
for the fast-acting ones, because it's air.
Right.
Okay. And it's moving and affecting things much quicker.
Right.
Okay. And again, works perfect with Venus. And again, and that is the hand chakra. Okay, which is all intimacy. Okay. Earth also controls all of our senses. Okay, which the hand chakra is in charge of. And it's how the only way that we can sense anything so that we can react to the outside world.
Right.
That's it. There's no other way. And that's all the hand chakra, and that's all Venus. And they say that it's a minor chakra, but I don't agree. I think it's a major chakra for what it does. But instead of working where the chakra energy is, it's working through the heart. And I think that's why it's not picked up a lot. And it wasn't when the chakra systems were discovered.
Right.
Because it was actually here when
the center is down there.
The center is in between the sacral
and the solar plexus.
And the solar plexus, yeah. It's interesting how that all works.
That's really fascinating.
Yes.
But again, it ties into the 40,000 plus neurons in the heart.
And again, though, the heart then becomes another hub.
Right.
A hormonal hub. Okay. That essentially thinks on its own too.
Right.
Because of, as you pointed out, all the neurons that are associated with it. What did you say? How many?
40,000
yeah.
that they have counted so far that they've been able to identify.
Yes.
And some are saying as many.
Stuff out.
Some people are suggesting. I've seen studies now that are suggesting 3 to 4 times as many.
Okay. Wow, that's really interesting. Hopefully that goes somewhere.
So.
Okay, so we're done with the endocrine glands and the heart. Okay, and again, we're still in chakras. Now, the other part of the chakras that we want to get into are colors, because each of them have color frequencies that they vibrate at.
Right.
Okay. So the colors we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about blue. Okay. What's blue? Stands for freedom, serenity, calmness, peacefulness, imagination, intelligence, sincerity, wisdom, stability, and faith. People with blue aura are intuitive. They're helping. They're loving. They remain calm in times of crisis. And blue, throat chakra.
Speaking your truth. Yeah.
And that and blue is also, that's the color in your aura. the blue that you see.
Right.
Okay, is the throat chakra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we're going to talk about brown. Okay, brown, approachable, honest, genuine, sincere, friendly. Okay, on the negative side, they can be materialistic, prudent, and depressive. Okay, people with a tendency towards brown or have a lot of brown on them are seen as reserved, reliable, intelligent, rational. Okay, and a little intuitive.
But very grounded.
Yes.
That's a very earthy color.
Yes.
Yes.
So very grounded. Okay, and I would say more than a bit intuitive. Okay, but again, I think that the issue that a lot of people have with intuitive is that they don't know the difference between psychic and intuitive.
Right.
Psychic is the process.
Intuitive is just feeling it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Intuitive is the sensing of it, but you have to process it, and that's
Right.
where intuition comes in. What does this mean? Okay. And then brown, of course, foot chakra.
Right.
Okay, path. Now we're going to talk about green. Harmony, freshness, creativity, productivity, safety, positivity. Okay. People with a lot of green are optimistic, ambitious, creative, eye for beauty and detail, striving for perfection. Okay.
Yeah, and well, that's the heart. So
That's the heart chakra, and that's Pluto.
Yeah.
Transformative.
Transformative. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
It's transformative, but it's also very loving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's interesting.
Oh, as you pointed out a little while ago, I mean, you transform through the heart. That's
Yes.
how change happens.
Yes, and that's Pluto.
That's
And
exactly
Pluto
it.
is also Raphael.
Right.
Okay.
Healing. Yes.
Right. But when you get into the Sephiroth, okay, and this is one of the only ones that has a correlation to both chakras and Sephiroth, is Raphael. They're almost in the exact same spot, Tiferet and the heart chakra.
Really? Okay.
Right. And Tiferet means beauty. Okay, with an eye for beauty and detail.
Interesting.
Yes.
That is, wow.
Very interesting. Yep. Now we're getting into indigo. Okay, symbolizes spirituality, wisdom, devotion, creativity, fairness, impartiality, justice, and dignity. Okay, so people here, calm, peaceful demeanor, intense spiritual drive. Brow chakra, bam.
There you go.
Okay,
That's the brow.
and that's the moon.
Opening your third eye.
Yes, and that is the moon, people.
Your spiritual sensitivity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, orange symbolizes youthfulness, positivity, enthusiasm, warmth, creativity, determination, encouragement, and freedom. Okay, and orange aura stands for creativity, spontaneity, adventure, good health, and vitality. Okay, sacral.
That's your sacral chakra.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's your sacral, and that's Neptune.
Yeah. That's
how
the
you
one.
transcend. That's your transcendence.
It's not just your transcendence, but it's also the one associated with your reproductive organs. So,
Right.
you know, your youthfulness, your
Right.
creativity, your
Yes. 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 Okay, purple symbolizes ambition, luxury, royalty, power, nobility, grandeur, creativity, and wisdom. There's a lot of them that seem to like wisdom, but there's a lot of crossover that you find with these things. Okay, and our purple stands for creativity, enlightenment, spiritual healing, and cleansing of the mind. Okay, and that is Tao.
Thoth. Yeah.
Mars, people, Mars, ambition.
Well, royalty and nobility, power.
Mhm.
I mean, Mars, that's, you know, Roman name for the god of war, Ares,
Yes.
son of the king of the gods.
Well, one of the sons.
One
yes.
of the sons, yes.
One of them. There were a few. Yes.
More than a few, but yes.
But then a Doth, again, it connects everything together. It connects the chakras. It connects the planets. It connects the Sephiroth. It connects the angelic hierarchies. It connects the 10 heavens, the Jewish system. It is the pathway.
Mhm.
Okay. It is purple, so it's a mixture between blue
And red, yep.
So both hubs, Saturn,
Saturn
and
in
the
the
throat.
throat, yeah.
And through them
And it
connects
creates the
all
pathway.
things. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Whew, that's a lot.
Interesting. Yep. Okay, red symbolizes vibrance, passion, love, desire, romance, sensuality, courage, ambition, determination, and radiance. Okay. Red aura signifies passionate energy, indicating a healthy ego alongside a positive state of well-being. And that is your root chakra.
Again, your foundation.
Yes. But that's your Saturn.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't associate a lot of that with Saturn, but it is Saturn. It's your hub. It's that first hub that comes in.
Well, it's exactly, it's Saturn's foundation. It's limiting, but it's disciplined.
It's very disciplined. It is very disciplined.
That's what.
Right. But it's passion and love, but it's also at the same time, because of the Aquarius energy, it's detachable.
Yeah.
So that you can look in. Oh, okay. All right. So now we have tan. Symbolizes elegance, serenity, simplicity, warmth, and softness. Okay. And what we mean by tan is like amber. Okay. Symbolizes warmth, positivity, and increased physical and mental energy. Okay. Signifies positive energy and courageousness. And that's Venus, people, and the hand chakra.
You're right. Okay. Yep.
Violet symbolizes spirituality, purification, gentleness, imagination, calmness, creativity, wisdom again, royalty, and luxury. Violet signifies one's urge to seek answers to the various questions of life and to find the right direction. And violet, we're talking violet blue. Okay.
That's your crown.
That's your crown. That's Jupiter. It's expansion. That's how you expand.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have yellow. Symbolizes happiness, enlightenment, freshness, optimism, energy, loyalty, and creativity. Yellow ore signifies someone who is hardworking with an exceptional analytical mind and has strong observational and communicative skills. Okay, it's your sun. It's your essence.
Your essence
10th house.
Who you are.
Yep, it's your identity. Okay, it is your social identity. Okay, what you are. Yes.
Interesting.
Exactly. Okay.
Interesting.
So, those are the color vibrations. Okay, now we're going to get into sound vibrations.
Yes, sound is another wave, for sure.
There it is, sound.
Whereas color is electromagnetic.
Yes.
Because it's light.
Mm-hmm.
Sound is a pressure wave.
Yep.
Traveling through a medium.
Yep. Yes, exactly. So, semantics. Study of vibrations and frequencies and how they affect particles, mass, and their behaviors. Okay?
Again, that lends itself to the pressure wave nature of sound.
Yes.
The way that it's able to affect anything. It's, you can watch...
well, the frequencies, when you change a frequency on anything, especially in music, okay, and you send it out, it will give you an emotional response. Okay. Of course, water, waves are water.
Right.
Okay. So, frequencies are air. And again, in three-dimensional reality, there's one's thick, one's thin. That's the only way you can tell them apart.
Right, right.
Okay? They work unbelievably well together. Okay. So, we can talk about acoustics, longitudinal pressure wave generated as a result of the vibration from any source. Okay. So, there's that pressure wave we talked about, acoustics.
Right.
Okay, of something. Okay. Unbelievably important.
Oh, unbelievably.
And they all break down into, again, four elements.
Unbelievably important.
Right.
I mean, that's just speaking solely from the effect that your words can have.
Well, your words?
You can make someone's day or you can crush someone's spirit just by the words you speak.
Yes, you can. And how you speak them.
And the tone, right, exactly. It's the frequency, it's the tone, it's the attitude behind it, it's what's presented.
Right.
All of it coming together.
Right.
And then the creative sense, you can watch videos, even on YouTube, where people take harmonic frequencies and use it to levitate things.
Yeah. That's true. Right. But then you have music.
I mean, and music, you talk about...
You're talking about breaking it down into the four elements again.
Yeah.
Okay. So the singing aspect is fire. Because it's generated by animals, us.
Right.
Those noises.
And it's expressive, yeah.
Yep. You got your woodwinds and your strings.
Right.
Your air. You got your brass instruments, which are water.
Right.
And then you have your drums, which are earth. Okay, give you the rhythm. It's unbelievable, all of that stuff, when you mix them together, which is what they used to do. They don't do it as much now. It's all electronic. It's all put through amplifiers and done this and done that.
But you can still go to different places and have a profound experience. I mean, go to...
You can, but I don't think it's going to be as...
Go to...
Right, but it's not going to be like it was back when you had Bach, Beethoven,
Oh, no.
Mozart, the days when you had...
The great masters, I mean...
They were creating symphonies.
They understood sound and vibration in a way that we just don't today.
Right.
I mean,
but they also all
Beethoven was
right, but
deaf
they always
when he wrote his last one.
Right. He became deaf.
Yeah.
Yes. However, they all were operas.
Yeah.
So there were stories behind them.
Right.
So at the same time that they were making all this, they were visualizing the energy in their head.
And telling a story.
Telling a story, right, but with the music.
Right.
Which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Because people would get it.
Right. And you do, to some extent, you do get some of the same effect, I guess you could say, with something, if you go and experience the Gregorian chants live.
Well, you can, yeah, you do.
You know,
I still don't think it's the same.
It's not the same, but it's the effect is similar. I mean, you go out, you know, around a fire circle and they're drumming.
Right.
You know, it's a very profound effect.
Yeah. When you do drumming circles, essentially you're working mostly with rhythm, unless you bring other instruments out and you do other stuff. Which a lot of times they do that.
Right.
But for the most part, you're dealing with rhythm at that point, which is really cool. Because rhythm is on its own is awesome. And all of them on their own are awesome, but when you put them all together, it's like, wow.
The rhythm alone, that's if you allow yourself to go into a meditative, you know, quote unquote trance state.
Right.
It can take you places.
Yeah. Most music can. Whether it's rhythm or the others or somebody talking, you can go with the same thing.
Right.
But it's the same thing. You're using semantics and you're using acoustics to get them there.
Right.
Okay. It's how they do it.
Mm.
It's just unbelievable when you get into that. Okay.
Right.
And now we're going to talk about the psychological expressions. Okay. And these are vibration performed through the first one, beliefs. Okay. Your beliefs. Okay. What do you believe? Your true beliefs. What you believe, not what somebody told you to believe.
So what's all to you? It's your your faith.
Yes, it can be your faith, and it essentially is your faith. What you have faith in, what do you believe in?
Right.
Yes, and then the second part of that would be feelings. Okay. And how do you feel about things?
Right.
That's not so much what you believe anymore. You feel as you know.
You know it to be true.
Right.
You feel it to be true. Yes. That's the other side of faith, essentially.
Yeah. Then you have your spiritual expression.
Right.
Consciousness, which is your truths.
Mm.
Okay. Your truths, again, with a capital T. Plato talked about it all the time. Okay. Truth with a capital T. People say that all the time, or they used to in class.
Right.
And then you have the unconscious, which is the psychic channel. It's just the sensing of everything coming through. Mm-hmm. Your empathic abilities to do that. Okay, again, because it's unconscious, ruled by Cancer, and it's going to be the nadir. And again, your truths ruled by your consciousness, it's going to be your midheaven. Okay. Capricorn.
Okay. So again, I think this bears repeating the difference between intuitive and psychic.
Yeah. Then. Intuitive is the process, and psychic is the empathic ability to feel it. The problem is that if you're just empathic and you're around somebody who's sick, you will feel sick.
Right.
You will take on that energy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The key is being able to sense it and then stopping it and allowing your intuition to process it, to tell you what it is. Oh, this person's feeling this. Instead of, wow, why do I feel sick all of a sudden? Well, why am I pissed off and then I'm happy and then I'm pissed? Well, get off the bus. You know, because all these things are around you.
Right, yeah.
You know, learn protection, learn control. And again, that's where like things like the fundamentals and stuff come into play, where you need to actually work on those.
Right.
Because if you don't, you're going to have some serious problems. Okay. So, now let's go into energy manipulators. Okay. They allow for energy manipulation. Okay. So there's subtle energy. Okay. Subtle energy is going to be like psychic energy. It's going to be things that most people don't know how they pick up on and they just do.
Right.
Okay. The chakras, you're talking about you're talking about prana, you're talking about all sorts of different energies that are flowing through that you don't even realize. Okay. And you've got, your vital breaths, and you've got, again, I brought up prana.
Right,
right.
Right.
And there are many others. I don't want to get into all of them, but.
Not quite yet.
Right. Flowing through, well, a lot of them different, what's the word I'm looking for? Not faiths, different systems.
Mm-hmm.
Chakra systems.
Yeah.
Utilize them in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and talk about them differently. So it's one of those things like when we talk about translation differences.
Right. Yeah.
Especially with Hebrew,
Right.
because it doesn't translate into.
Oh no!
English,
It doesn't translate.
Like Spanish can,
Right. Yeah.
where it's like, oh, mesa means table. Okay, great. And in Hebrew, it's like, no. Well, it's just it's a name of God, and there's a ton of them, and you're like, what does that mean though? Adonai, the closest thing we've got is Lord. It's like,
It's kind
is that what it means? Not really, but it's the closest
not
thing
really.
that we
It's
can think.
it's the closest
come
thing
to.
that kind of gives us a general idea of the meaning.
Right.
That's about it.
Yeah, just like there's no word for sin. In
But
Hebrew.
it's to the Jewish people, the idea of God is such a vast array of.
Well, yeah. There's
the names of God simply
millions of aspects to it.
The names of God simply identify different aspects of the character of God.
Yes.
It's not who He is; it's part of the aspect of His character.
Right. Because maybe most people don't understand the Ein Sof.
Right.
Or the Sof. It's the unknowable, unreachable God. It's the one that the all from Plato. It's
Right.
the one
Yes.
you can't comprehend. And everything else are aspects of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the interesting part. Okay. But we have so subtle energy runs through that. Aether, all of that is going to fall into subtle energy. Then you have your physical energy. Okay, that's easy. That's physical energy.
Yeah. Things that we
feel it. You can interact with.
Interact with on a daily basis.
Right.
Yeah.
You move it. Things move out of the way. That's physical energy.
Right.
And then it's energy management. It's being able to manage it all.
Mm.
Okay, the subtle and the physical. Most people can manage the physical. They have a problem with the subtle.
Well, and a lot
because
of
they
that,
don't understand the subtle.
A lot of that is because we're classically trained to, for the most part, ignore the subtle. I mean, it's like the aura when you walk in a room after people have been fighting.
Right.
And
but
you
again,
can feel the tension.
You have to be that way because you've got so much information coming in.
Oh yeah, there's so much
on a
information.
practical level.
Yeah.
What's more important? Feeling this energy that's kind of over here, that's kind of nice and awesome and cool, or the car that's coming down the street, so don't get hit by the car. Well, don't get hit by the car.
Don't get hit by the car, and then maybe you can do something about the other energy.
Right. We're going to forget about this for now. We have to survive. And survival kind of makes us that way.
Right, yeah.
Okay. It's getting beyond that, and that's going spiritual for the most part. Okay, and then we break it down from energy manipulators into is science. Electromagnetic functions. Okay. And you already brought this up. Electromagnetic fields.
Right.
Okay, that are generated by everybody. Essentially bodily aura.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Feeling it out. Okay. Interacting with other people's. Okay. Again, survival. You need that for survival. You have to know what's around you in your environment.
Right.
Or else, again, you're going to get hit by the car, you're going to walk into the water, and a lot of this now screws that up because have you seen them when the kids that are walking through the mall and they walk into the fountain?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But it disrupts your electromagnetic field around you.
It does.
I mean you've talked before about our special forces, how they're trained to extend it further beyond them.
Right.
Again, survival mechanism.
But again, in the field, they don't carry cell phones in the field.
That is true.
They try to get rid of those disruptions or turn them off when they're doing,
right.
Except for the little ones that they may need for communicating with each other. And then we get into biochemistry, okay, and those are more moods. Okay.
Biochemistry.
Science of it, yep, it affects your mood. The biochemistry always affects the mood that you're in.
Well, again, and it goes back to the what we had already talked about with glands and the hormones.
Yeah. Okay. And then biomechanical waves.
Mm.
And those are just insane.
Yeah.
They're working in the field for it, but there's not a lot of clear cut anything with those things. Even when you take out the word bio and just get into mechanical waves.
Oh,
It's better than the biomechanical waves, trying to figure that out, the mechanical ones, because they actually work on those, but they work on it with like different machine parts and metals, and how things work together and how these things are affecting these things and these things. The biomechanicals are about how cell structure, things affect that.
That's exactly it.
Chemotherapy.
There's a lot more science behind the mechanical waves right now.
Yeah, than the biomechanical.
But trying to take it down from Newtonian level, where it's affecting like ships on the ocean,
right,
to the cells in your body, there's problems. There's a lot of problems.
And one of the issues that they have now is that, as far as the science goes, they've gone into like chemotherapy, and cellular structure, and how the lower fields, the lower waves affect your cells, and what they can do, and how they can do this, and how they're able to do that. And nobody's really looked into the chakra aspect of that. Okay. But we know how chakra energy works. We know where it works and how those things work, and fields and Reiki. So when you get into it, that's what you're working through.
From what
you're working with biomechanical waves when you're doing all of those things.
Right. Well, and essentially, science is trying to play catch up right now. From what you had shown me earlier today, reading through some of the scientific literature.
Right.
The Reiki and the chakra energy and everything is in the form of electromagnetic waves.
Right.
It's light. And the problem that they're having is matching theory up with what they're seeing and to happen, and they can't get it to match up. The difference is on the order of 10 to the 12th power.
Well, I don't think that they're going to be able to do that. I don't really think they ever will if that's how they're going to look at it, because it's not just light waves that they're looking that like you were just bringing up. That's what they're looking for.
Right.
It isn't just that. They're not looking at the subtle energy.
Yeah.
They're looking at the physical energy. They need to start looking at the subtle energy and how that is affecting.
Well, and that's the flip side of what we're trying to do here is bringing spirituality and science together.
Right.
A lot of the scientists that are trying to work with this have still adapted the mindset that science is here and spirituality belongs over here.
Yes, yeah, they're still in the split. But, hopefully, as people learn more,
right,
study more, open themselves spiritually, and get more of a scientific background to spirituality, they can meld the two back together again.
Right.
And we can get back to a place where these things were happening.
Right.
Because there was a time when these things worked together.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We just split away from that.
That's why we have the systems that do work. That's why you have these gurus and whatnot that teach Reiki and.
Well, it's not just Reiki though.
Before
it was Reiki, it was
Tibetan singing bowls and
Qi and karate.
Right.
And that's biomechanical.
Mm-hmm.
All of that running the energy through the body. It's insane when you study with somebody who really knows, like Sakichi Iha.
Yeah.
Somebody who learned in Okinawa when he was a teenager and is now in his 90s.
But
those people have a handle on things that.
But again, he was raised in a culture where spirituality and physical reality were not.
Well, yeah, but it's also Eastern.
Separate.
So the problem with with us Westerners is we think too much.
Right.
Well, we need to know how. When you get to the Eastern, they're like, you do this, and you get here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you continue to do this, you will get here. So stop asking so many questions and do this, so you can get here.
Right.
and cut out all of the
questions are good and important to a level.
They are. It's just a different culture. The culture's different.
Well, that's exactly it.
Do as I say.
That's
is the Eastern, and then it's
because
Y
it's kind of
is the Western.
the split between the Eastern teachers for like Hinduism and Buddhism,
Mm-hmm.
and the even the ancient Greek philosophers that tried to break everything apart.
Oh, right. Because then you had like astrology, and it was like, whoa.
Right.
They broke it down into this really awesome system, which is great.
Right.
If you use it, and you don't just do somebody's chart, or just
Right.
look at a chart and go,
No, that's interesting.
awesome, yeah, we sit around and talk about it. That's Westerners. We sit around and talk about things all the time. Hey,
Right.
this is awesome. Isn't this wonderful? Isn't this great? And
Well, it's
the Eastern people are looking at you like you're just
Getting-
sitting around and talking to each other. There's no practical aspect.
But getting back to the effects that the energies have, and,
Yeah.
and this and that, and
Right.
whatever else. I mean, come on, that's a misconception about some of the biblical stories. The three wise men in the story of the birth of Christ
They were astrologers.
were magi. They were astrologers from the court
Yes.
in Persia.
Yeah. Yes. They were able to read the.
They read the stars.
Yeah, the red stars, planets, and went, oh, okay.
They're like, hey, this is a sign.
Yeah.
There's someone important's gotten born.
Yes. We need to go here. And they went. And they were like, okay, here's a kid.
Yeah.
Here's this
Right.
kid just got born. This is something.
Right.
This is something. We're bringing gifts. And what
Well,
do they
that's
bring?
gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
So water and air.
And air, yeah.
Energy. How incredible was that?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the birth being a human is fire.
Right.
Okay, and where were they? They were in a manger, but where were they?
In a stable.
Right.
Where exactly?
Earth.
Earth. Well, yeah.
They were all, I mean, not on the earth. That's not what I mean. But they were out.
Right.
They weren't some they weren't some fancy done-up thing. They were out. They were in.
Right.
It was all around them.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's just incredible when you look back and you're like, wow, this is insane.
Yeah.
You know how these things correlate.
It's
You
just
don't have to look at
it's
they correlate.
it's wild when
It
when you look at spirituality from the perspective that I have now, working with you now.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's weird. You should have been there when I was teaching Sunday school. That was interesting. I did that for a Unity church. But it was, I came from Genesis. Only I taught Genesis through elemental energy. God moved his face across the waters. Let's talk about water. What is water? And I've got like 6, 7, 8-year-old kids. And they're like, you mean like water? I was like, no, like water like this. God, let there be light, fire. And then it was like, okay. The firmaments, all of those things, air, and they got it.
Well, it's crazy going through the Genesis,
Right.
because we've gone through a little bit of this
Right.
Genesis breakdown.
Right. And you don't have to worry about the begot, that all the kids go, and you start talking about that, because they don't want to hear that. But
Right.
when you're talking to them about more of a science way to break it down, in terms that they can understand, they get excited about it.
Well, and
Invested to that point. You're like,
because it's
wait a
interesting. This is what's held me onto the edge of my seat the entire time
but it
working
allows
with
them to
you.
critically think.
Is
You
science is now catching up with where the old thinkers were, where the spirituality developed and took us. Science is now coming back to, and it's
coming back to them, but it's adding to it. I mean, it's enhancing.
Oh yeah, exactly. Completely.
Both sides are now like, whoa! You can take both sides and go, oh my goodness, look where this went.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I mean,
And how well it all melds and works together.
It's the idea, the first thing God created in the Genesis account was light.
Yeah.
And it's interesting looking back now, we can say,
Fire.
well, light is needed for everything else to exist.
Yes, because it's motion. It's motion. There's no vibration without fire.
Right, exactly. And without light, you can't have the refraction or the reflection into the different dimensional reality.
Right. Or the color. there's no color.
Right.
Without light also. I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible. There's no movement. Everything just sits. Everything is potential.
Right.
There's nothing kinetic.
Yeah.
But there'd be light, bam!
And
Kinetic energy was born.
You get motion, but not just motion, but then you also get form.
Yes.
Because now you have things not just sitting stagnant in infinite potential.
Right. Exactly. And you have the building blocks of matter, and then you have the two power cycles, and we're going to get into that, so let's not. Because we've already gone over the hour. So, thank you for joining us. I hope that this was eye-opening for you, and I hope that it was entertaining as long as informative. Because we did go through a lot of information.
There's a lot of information in this.
But it is important, especially in a practical way. Because if you take what we were just talking about, especially people who want to get into healing, the information that we went over is unbelievable for healing, even if it's just self-healing.
Right.
Because now you know what you're sensing, why you're sensing it, what it's doing, how it's going to go through your body.
Mm-hmm.
Not just what organ it's going to be, or this is going to be, but what's flowing, the hormones that are flowing, the nerves that are moving through, how it's communicating, why it's communicating, where the hubs are, why the hubs are important.
Right.
Okay, and how there's crossover with the hubs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and to be honest, we've only gotten into chakras.
And we've barely scratched the surface because we haven't even talked about the individual chakras yet.
Yes. This is only fire.
Right.
Still. We've got 4 other elements to get through. Well, essentially 3 other elements.
Three other elements.
Connecting all of them together.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So 4 other elements and then the house system. The sphere to combine them all in. But again, thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Thank you.